The next morning, further good news arrived. Never mind, I thought the baby was just gonna fucking die. Okay, whatever. Yuji had fully awoken and was not even able to engage in conversation. Yuji! See? Yuji, Papa's here. Papa. Oh, Yuji. This emotional reunion had even the nurses crying. Yuji's expression was still weak, but there was a definite smile there. His excitement had decreased too, and there was still marks left from the surgery, and he could barely move at all. But he could now follow Richard with his eyes, and talk and respond to people. It would increase because he can actually, move his eyes now. It certainly was sad to see him there, covered with bandages and tubes, but neither Richard nor Keith could have asked for more. I'm hungry. Want to eat more? Oh, I see. You were eating. Come on, Yuji, say ah. Yuji had been in the middle of eating. Keith scooped up applesauce with a spoon and carried it to Yuji's mouth. Fucking applesauce! Even though he had an IV, it seemed he couldn't be satisfied with an empty stomach. Yuji didn't like fruits very much, but it seemed he couldn't win against the hunger, and he chewed silently. You're gonna fucking like applesauce, bitch. Applesauce is good. To Richard, it was a reunion so moving he wanted to hug Yuji right away. However, Yuji was more forced on the next bite of food. Was that bluntness particular to small children irritating, or was it nostalgic? Richard couldn't help but feel the tears welling up. Hey there, how you doing, Yuji? Grand boss, you're too loud. Cyrus, I'm glad you came. See, Yuji, Uncle Cyrus is here to visit you. Well, I heard you're doing so good, I brought you an incredible get-well present. See, it's the pudding you love so much. Pudding. Incredible, Grand Boss. Didn't know you knew what Yuji liked. Don't take me lightly, boy. I've even been pissed on while changing Yuji's diapers. That takes me back. It feels like so long ago. And this pudding's really expensive. Pretty cool, Grand Boss. Well, I had one of the young ones take a spin out to Yokohama to get it. Look, here's some insanely expensive pudding. Why? Here's fucking $10 million pudding. Please eat. Wow, it tastes like regular pudding. Gunter Morozov, is it? Isn't that a bit too expensive? I was thinking just how a great day this is. Did I make a mistake? It's a Grand Boss for you. You know how it is. You may not look it, but he has always been a subtly considerate man. Cyrus, is just as you say. There could be no happier day than this. Hey there, Yuji. I've got pudding. It's expensive enough to make your eyes pop. Pudding. He says the wound hurt until a second ago, but he seems to be in high spirits now. Pudding over pain, is it? Richard laughed cheerfully at Yuji's bold hunger. Watching this, Cyrus was even more relieved. I feel like it should, I know it's, not the fun fucking option, but, some type of, fiber, actual vitamins, things, though you can get that in the IV, I guess. But I feel like you need something like, just not applesauce and then pudding as well. That's a lot of sugar that he's intaking. Today, they were being called to the occupying forces HQ. Fuck them! Who cares? It can wait. Most likely, they had been shown the analysis results proving that the GS had indeed been responsible for the crime. It would have become certain that Lee had betrayed them after their long acquaintanceship, which would probably be a considerable shock. However, it was all right. As he was now, Richard could probably overcome Stella's death completely and make a clear-minded decision. Now that putting his favorite was here, Yuji had no more interest to spare for his applesauce. Fuck this shit. He fucking slaps it away. As Keith grinned wryly, Richard nodded to him with a smile. No helping it, I guess. Okay, let's have some pudding. Yay! He'd gotten a bit too excited. His wound cramped up, and Yuji hung his head moaning. Yeah, you know what, kid? Maybe you should, calm down. Maybe we should just wait on the pudding. As though noticing this, a nurse came in. A bit earlier, they'd given him medicine to stop the pain. She was probably also coming to switch his IVs. No medicine, pudding! Yuji dislike of medicine was genuine. Whenever he got a cold, they always had to fight it to make him take his medicine. No, what child likes medicine? What person likes medicine? It's no good. You've got to take your medicine. You said it hurt a little while ago, right? Pudding. Keith told him the pudding wouldn't run away, but Yuji apparently thought it would. I know, I'm not letting you off that easy. It's your fault, Cyrus. Bad kids who don't take their medicine don't get pudding. No! The good kids who do take their medicine do get to eat Uncle Cyrus's pudding. Yuji raised his voice unhappily. That unreasonableness was very nostalgic. Well, a kid can't fucking reason with that. That means literally nothing to a fucking kid. Yuji, take your medicine. If you do, then we'll all eat pudding together. Yuji whims. His raised voice, all of it, was so familiar. It was part of an everyday life that they had thought had been cruelly smashed and lost forever. Stop. Go away. If only one more person were here. Richard looked up at the ceiling, moved to tears. Both Keith and Cyrus knew whose face Richard was remembering. She's here too. Huh? You can see her too, Grand Boss. I didn't know you had it in you. Hey, we did a lot of things. Don't mock me, boy. Even I can be at least this delicate. Stella's here too. Richard's the only one who can't see her. Richard, haven't you noticed? She's been here this whole time. Don't make fun of me, you two. No, you're right. She is here. Stella's right here. Mama? Since everyone said she was here, even though Yuji couldn't see her, he looked all around. Of course he couldn't spot Stella, and he didn't even know that she had been welcomed into heaven. What? God, you wouldn't have a concept of it. Yuji, Stella's here too. She's here. Stella's here. She'll never leave your side. Mama? When he still couldn't find Stella after looking around, Yuji's interest returned to his pudding. Young kids really are abrupt enough to draw a bitter smile. But that's okay. It was okay for his mind to be absorbed in pudding now. Eventually, the day would probably come when he would be forced to accept Stella's death. However, that wasn't needed today. Today, he just needed to feel being alive, to laugh, to enjoy himself. It'd be years until he actually can fully understand what happened to her. However, they apparently wouldn't be able to see that smile of his unless they gave him pudding. He had a tantrum as usual over not wanting medicine. However, when he finally understood that he'd be able to eat pudding if he took his medicine, he reluctantly agreed. You take your medicine now? It's still hard for a 2-year-old to take an oral medicine. We have an IV. Why do we need oral medicine? Just put it in the fucking IV. However, when he measured the bitter taste against the pudding, he eventually came to a decision on his own. Like, it will be absorbed into the bloodstream, so it will affect it faster. He'd always refused that medicine, no matter how often Stella told him to take it. Even if they tried to trick him by putting it into snacks or juice, he never drank it. Fucking smart fucking kid. Now he had decided to take it on his own, though with the lure of pudding to help. Even lying in a hospital bed looked so pathetic. The small child was growing. Keith and Richard were certain they needed to protect this child's future. For that reason, they couldn't let Stella's death be in vain. Yuji grabbed the small tablet he had been given, looking at it unhappily. Ugh. He could only move one arm, so it looked like it'd be a little trickier to drink it, and then grab the water cup Keith was holding. Small tablet? What do you mean, drink a tablet? After a little bit of confusion, he readied himself with an exaggerated breath. To him, this was as tense as preparing for a death-defying tightrope walk. That childish drama was pretty fun, and some of the nurses laughed a little. However, this was the first trial, and it was growth. Seeing this happen in one of their future countrymen made their life worth living. Cyrus handed out pudding to everyone. When Yuji overcame the trial in front of him, everyone was prepared to eat pudding together. With the mood set, Yuji was finally encouraged to take the plunge. Gulp. You took the medicine by yourself. That's great, Yuji. You did it well. I'm sure Mama will praise you. Pudding now! Okay. Time for your reward. Here's yours, Yuji. Richard, you should eat well, too, and store up some energy for your brain. But of course, I must receive the Major's analysis results, and I'll probably have to work out a plan of action. Think you'll be able to stay cool? If I said my emotions had all returned to zero, well, then I would probably be lying. However, I have no interest in aggravating matters more than they already have been. Starting a feud with the GDS would only leave an unneeded source of trouble in the future for Yuji and the others after all. So you're finally back to the old Richard. Like, he understands that it was bad, but he didn't say anything. That's what's really frustrating with me with Cyrus, and I'm really disappointed in him. However, I intend to see it that full responsibility is taken so that Stella's death doesn't have to be in vain. Yuji, pudding time, say ah. He'd gotten too excited and coughed, spitting out the pudding in his mouth. Fucking kids. Yuji, calm down a little. Hey, you are calm. Papa's pretty mean, huh? You go down his windpipe? Kid's dying. Fuck. Well, the joke's on you. That nurse fucking killed him. It's mean to laugh. Careful on. Come on, careful now. Blech. Coughs more. Didn't I tell you, Richard, that we will become comrades? Comrades bearing the same pain. These hidden medicines of China are truly remarkable. Even poisons used simply to kill someone come in an unbelievable wide variety. That's right, just like words of love. You talking about that stuff you got from the Bajang Bong geezer? Yep. Though he demanded quite a hefty sum of money. It's all that taxpayer money anyway. It's not like your wallet's going to suffer. It's a fitting expense to punish demons. The taxpayers ought to be happy. Yuji writhed in agony, blowing bubbles, his eyes white. Hey, you gonna stop that nurse from walking out, by the way? Because she fucking just killed that kid. Blood vessels all over his body grew black and puffy, right before their eyes. Nice meme. Eventually, bubbles of blood started spouting out of his mouth and nose. Splattering blood, forming red dots on his pure white bandages and sheets. Christ. Yuji! Doctor, what are you doing? Help Yuji, quickly. It's poison. He's been poisoned. We can see that. Save Yuji, quickly. Keith called out Yuji's name, holding his body. I mean, it's fucking done. His eyes are white, and he's fucking spitting out blood. He's dead. At Richard's side, the pudding he'd left slowly fell to the floor. Flesh-colored and brown splashes flew everywhere. If the poison only killed, it wouldn't fetch so high a price. The poison we order always kills rapidly, and it kills in the most brutal, terrifying, painful, agonizing way. After all, we're punishing evil. If they die in their sleep, they won't have to take time to remember the people they tormented and killed. You're fucking killing a kid, what? And so Richard was forced to watch his beloved son, who was burned from the inside, swelled up as the scattering pus while dying in agony. And all of this as his own face was covered with splashing blood. Didn't I tell you? Today is my birthday. My lucky day. Nice meme. Our information department confirms that these letters are genuine and that they were written by Lee himself. Why are we here? What the fuck? We just saw Yuji die. Why can't we just push this date back? What the fuck? This is so dumb. Oh my god. Also, could you show him that? Yes, sir. Mr. Saimura, take this, please. The man from the information department opened a different file. It was a picture of a gruesome, difficult to look at corpse. It was bound to something like a medical chart. Oh, it looks identical, doesn't it? It contained an autopsy picture of a man who had died, spurting blood with all of his blood vessels raised in black. That method of dying. There was no doubt that it was the same gruesome way Yuji had died. Yeah, it was fucking poison. The doctor said it was. Kill the fucking nurse! It was her! These people literally let that fucking nurse just walk out the fucking door. Holy fuck. According to what was written, it was a terrifying poison going around the Chinese underworld. Yeah, thank God no one else can fucking buy it. Its most important characteristics were that it brought certain death and hellish pain. That latter quality is what led people to choose this particular poison. In other words, it suggested the existence of someone filled with a pure black hate that went beyond mere killing intent. Like, you should already understand that that's not what the GDS would have done here. Like, that should have been obvious. There was a list of families thought to possess that poison, which included the GDS. That's no good. After this, even I can't take it anymore. Who would take a poison that kills you so gruesomely and give it to a young child who had just returned from the brink of death to fucking piss you off? Fucking think for 2 goddamn seconds. How can a friend like that ever be forgiven, huh? Like, I understand you can be emotional, but like just something doesn't smell right. Everything just happens to perfectly line up and go in like, I know like humans, they love fucking thinking in a railroad fashion and don't like stop ever. Like once it like confirms a worldview, like they just keep running with it, no matter how fucking stupid and ignorant it is to think about that, which is what really fucking bothers me about people. Honest to God. Because if you think just like, even like the first question is, why would they? You don't have an answer for why they'd want a brutal method of killing a child. That makes literally no sense, considering they went for sniper rounds that hit people in the head. It was for a quick, instant death that they were trying to aim for. Like, they used snipers. They weren't trying to just fucking, like, brutally, like, maim people. They could have done that with Rose and, like, poisoned her, like, in a meeting or something, if they really wanted to do it that way. But no, they did it in a very, very, very specific way. In going for an assassination route. That would be quick, bullet hole, dead. Stella, shot in the head, dead. I read these documents too. I hear it's a terrifying poison. My chest tightens just thinking about young Yuji dying in such pain. Yeah, isn't it also really fucking convenient? They just happen to already have a picture in a list of the poisons that did this in the same day. Oh, don't worry. We have this file on hand that we know exactly what it is. Damn, crazy, guys. Gabriel's words, which sounded sympathetic, gorged themselves into Keith's chest from the most merciless angle. Keith, with an expression as pained as though someone had stuck a knife in his chest, screamed, "Lee! How could you do this to Yuji? You demon!" Nah! Keith, a man who seemed so easygoing, who never showed any extreme emotion, wore an expression twisted like a devil's. His expression brought terror even to Cyrus. Farewell to la vie en rosa. Salutes. I don't know. It's just one of those things, dude. Once again, Richard was in the hospital's underground morgue. The first time he had come with Stella, who had been shot through the skull. This time he was with Yuji, who had burned from the inside, his lungs drowning in his own blood and vomit, dying in agony. Richard lost his last blood relative, who had survived the great disaster. And he had watched as his last relative suffered, splattering blood onto his face. There was a light knock on the door. The only ones allowed in were people bringing messages from Keith, who'd gone with Cyrus to the Occupying Forces HQ. There was a call from Keith at the Occupying Forces HQ. James approached him and whispered something short into his ear. It was probably a message that the analysis results had turned out positive. Like, just wait. Like, you don't have to tell him right this second. This is why I'm very disappointed in Cyrus. I'm very disappointed. He should know better. That was what Richard had predicted. So he only gave a small nod in response. Then James whispered it into his ear once more. This time the message was a little longer. It was about a poison, which caused the same symptoms as what Yuji suffered, and also that the GDS was one of the organizations in possession of it. No, one of them. Not the only one. One of them. I see. Thank you. Tell those two to hurry back. We must consider our next moves. We cannot simply cry and give up. Yes. James had thought Richard would be more visibly upset. He'd pictured him flying into a rage and howling while chewing apart his lower lip. However, Richard was unexpectedly quiet, and yet James felt it was much more eerie this way. Hey, a silent fury is way scarier than a loud one. It's more understandable for a loud and noisy anger But when someone's in a silent rage, dude, it's terrifying. I'll be waiting outside. Because you don't know when it starts, when it ends, anything. No, I'll be there soon. Please ready your car. You sure? Don't want to say your farewells a little longer? I'll be outside waiting. Yuji. I see. So that's how it was after all, Yuji. Papa was wrong. Trying to protect the future of our countrymen and our countrymen of the future was wrong after all. Thank you, Yuji. You taught me that at the cost of your life. Our methods were mistaken. We should kill all of the people trying to kill us. It's about today. Rose's methods were mistaken. Rose had likened Primavera to an eggshell to protect the weak Japanese people as they grew. She said it would protect them until the day they gained the strength to diligently apply themselves and coexist with foreigners. She is so fucking smart. God. The amount of intelligence she has is insane. Rose's end goal was coexistence between the Japanese and foreigners. Seeing Japan, which was no longer the sole domain of the Japanese after the loss of the war, she thought that was the right future to shoot for. It was. However, didn't Primavera exist for the purpose of protecting her Japanese countrymen? Was it really enough for them to just be a shell to protect the Japanese until they grew? Yes. Furthermore, it wasn't as though the shell was impenetrable. Well, that's what you have to be. You have to become impenetrable. Whatever. Fuck off. They had been attacked in the form of the Soy Sauce War, and they had lost Stella, even Yuji. Well, the Soy Sauce War actually didn't even break the shell. Just cracked it. The eggshell wasn't even functioning as a shell. Does there exist anything as weak as an egg? It's actually really hard to fucking break an egg, okay? To be fair, when looking at the natural world, nothing comes close to an egg when it comes to powerlessness and being used by other animals as a source of nutrients. Actually, live babies are way fucking softer than an egg. Because an egg still at least has some form of a harder defense, rather than a fucking soft little squishy baby. That's why eggs need parents to protect them. That's right, it wasn't a shell that will protect our weak countrymen. They need parents. When he realized this, Richard felt his respect for Rose wane for the first time. Fuck off, bitch. And he clearly thought of Rose as immature. Yeah, she's the immature one. Exactly. Fuck off, bitch. He's just trying to belittle her. It was simply a matter of life. He wasn't trying to belittle her, but he is. It was simply a matter of life experience. And he has so much more. Get out of here. Rose was certainly a person of character, proclaiming wonderful ideals that had been working. Something goes wrong and you're like, oh, throw the fucking baby out, throw the dead baby out with the bathwater. However, she had never given birth to a child nor raised one. That's the fucking prerequisite? Really? Cringe. Rose had never become a parent. That's why she spoke of a shell to protect her countrymen. Shells can only protect. They can't hurt anyone. They can't even hurt enemies. I see. It's the thing of a woman who wants to be loved by everyone. You actually have to be loved by foreigners if you don't want to get crushed. But for a parent protecting a child, cheap talk isn't enough. For their child's sake, they had to be willing to make an enemy out of anyone. No, that's so dumb. And they need to be cunning enough to bow their heads, even to an enemy from yesterday. Rose probably felt that she was prepared to dirty her hands in that way. However, all parents with children are prepared to do far more than that. Rose was naive. Yeah, and you're fucking naive if you think that you can attack anyone because of protecting, quote-unquote, your kid. She believed peace meant not hurting anyone. That was why she could speak such nonsense about shells. That's wrong. Peace is established by getting your hands dirty and getting hurt while repelling foreign enemies. All of my respect for Richard just fucking goes down the drain. Holy shit. You achieve peace by removing foreign enemies, either by defeating them or by making them fear enough that they can't attack you. To reach that state, you need to dirty your hands in the truest sense, and fight in a very literal sense. Rose was naive. Rose was wrong. It was only natural. She had never become anyone's parent, so I can tell. This is a philosophical state I have reached after having a child, raising him, and losing him. And strangely enough, the answer was one Rose hated most. The most violent and simple ideology. It's dumb. Like, dude's perfectly fine with being a shell, quote unquote, when he already is taking care of a kid. But the second it fucking dies, then it's like, oh my god, this was so stupid, guys. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Oh god, ew. That outfit looks god awful. Dude. Ugh. Protecting our countrymen does not mean protecting the people behind our backs as though we were a shell. We protect them by defeating the enemies, pointing knives at our countrymen before they attack. Once again, strangely enough, that had been Father Caleb's theory. And guess how that ended? We killed him! Us shell people killed him! Protecting people does not mean standing tall with them at your backs. It means defeating enemies that would harm them with their own hands. With your own hands. Madame Rose thought we could coexist with Chinatown. However, that was an illusion. Where the fuck is Alan? Stop sleeping. Chinatown, which continues to encroach into our city and expand, is not something that can be coexisted with. If we stand around, we will be whittled away and destroyed. Just as they chase us out of their cities, we must chase them out of our cities. Standing right here, right now, I announce the creation of a new Primavera family. Primavera will remain as an organization to protect our countrymen. However, the way we protect will be to dirty our hands in the truest sense. To fight literally, to cut away through the thorny path. Our methods will be completely different from those used in the past. We aren't an eggshell anymore. We have broken out and scattered. Today we have been born from the egg to spread our wings and receive new life. Fucking roll your eyes. Exactly. The society of mutual support between countrymen and that Madame Rose had hoped for the purpose of making that ideal reality. I, Richard Mayugi, announced the birth of a new announced the birth of a new Primavera. You know, emotional responses only go so long. If it's enough time removed from it, it's that you're actually just a fucking moron. On that day, Richard made the announcement in front of an emergency summon board of the highest execs and all of the crude bosses. I'd probably put 60% of the blame on Cyrus right here, though. I think he's being really irresponsible by not making him think more. Like, this is his job, and he's just derelicting it. In practical terms, he was announcing that Madame Rose would be a symbolic leader, and that he, Richard Mayugi, would take actual power. He made clear their change and focus from an eggshell to wings spread to threaten our enemies. Richard's assumption of actual power and change in the organization focus were welcomed with applause by powerful execs such as James and Maurice. Even Cyrus approved of it all, thinking there was no helping it now that it had gotten to this point. At this point, Wayne, the highest exec in the Pro Rose camp, was away in Tokyo serving as her guard. Of course, naturally. So you'd only heard by phone that Richard announced an emergency situation following Yuji's poisoning and the determination that the GDS was the culprit. Since it was clear that Rose couldn't take the lead on this matter, it was only natural that Richard represent her. Wayne didn't show any particular interest, and he was even happy that Rose had been freed from the troubles of City 23 for a while. As far as he knew, Richard was only acting as Rose's temporary representative in response to this crisis. Well, of course, why would he not lie? However, by Meryl's prediction, this couldn't be temporary. Stella was dead, and Rose was out of the picture. Even Meryl was busy keeping the ladies of the evening together, so she couldn't get any more involved. In other words, all women had been completely removed from Primavera, an organization originally created for ladies of the evening. Yeah, it's crazy how that happens. Men and women only get along well because they're aware of each other. And all these fucking guys are sexist as fuck, so who cares? If one gender becomes too prominent, it becomes easier for those organizations to experience drastic changes. That was Meryl's theory. Well, yeah, because they're going to start pushing them out. They're like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They're weak, blah, 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 blah. The same names. That was why in the past, a woman-only organization like Primavera welcomed the addition of Richard. It has perspective. Mara was completely certain that Primavera would be reborn as something totally different starting on this day. And she realized that it might go in a different direction than the one Rose wanted. Yeah, this is super. This is actually, just only have women organizations. Fuck, it runs better. However, earlier on, she had made an oath with Wayne to start living wisely. And for that reason, at least on the outside, she also applauded Richard's speech. It's fucked.